Hello and welcome to Speed Cafe's preview of the 2025 Las Vegas Grand Prix. Proudly brought to you by the Ford Ranger. It takes you and a Ranger. Round 22 of the 2025 Formula One World Championship, and we are back in Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas, baby. The third ever running of this Grand Prix on the Strip, the glittering Strip. Fun fact for you about Las Vegas, the brightest place on planet Earth can be seen from space. That is how bright it is. Fun fact to get you started into this preview. But the facts you want to know about Formula One, not about how bright it is. And a lot is happening, lots on the line heading into the third last round of the season. Of course, we're into a triple header to end the year, and it's all about the championship. Lando Norris, 24 points clear now of Oscar Piastri. Essentially a full race victory with only 3 rounds to go of the season. So lots on the line heading into this weekend, which we will get to in just a moment. 6.201 kilometers, the Las Vegas City Street Circuit under the lights there. As I said, the third running of this race ever, 50 laps at this circuit. It's fast, it is sweeping, and it's spectacular. This, of course, is a race that, let's be honest, was a bit controversial when it was announced a few years ago, but in the 2 editions it's had, it actually surprised many with the amount of racing that can go on at this circuit. The drivers generally like this circuit as well, and after a few teething issues in that debut race in 2023, I think we've got ourselves a pretty good circuit in Las Vegas. I was here last year, and it's a very interesting race to go to from a media perspective, but definitely spectacular when you're out there seeing the cars, particularly as they go through the sweeping areas underneath the spectacular sphere. One of the most unique places you will ever see a Formula One car, but high speed, I should say, street circuit, and a very entertaining race. And it's good timing for Australia as well, and New Zealanders, given that this race generally takes place on a Sunday afternoon, makes it easy viewing for us in this part of the world. The viewing we are hoping to see this weekend from that Aussie perspective, though, of course, is Oscar Piastri to get some ground back on Lando Norris. We know he struggled in the last few races and finds himself in the biggest gap he's had all year behind his teammate. But plenty can happen in Formula One, and Vegas is an interesting one for McLaren. In the 2 editions of this Grand Prix, McLaren has finished no higher than 6th. Last year, Lando was 6th, Oscar was 7th. In that very first race in 2023, Lando crashed out, Oscar finished 10th. So this hasn't been a very good circuit for McLaren in the 2 editions, and they're not expecting much. They're downplaying their chances heading into this weekend. They're saying this is the one track of the remaining 3 that they will struggle at the most, which of course opens the doors up to the likes of a Mercedes. They got a 1-2 here last year, George Russell beating his then teammate Lewis Hamilton. Max Verstappen won this Grand Prix in 2023, fending off the Ferraris, of course. So we do see generally, at least in the 2 editions we've had of this race, the McLaren aren't exactly at their top form here. 100% likelihood of a driver winning this Grand Prix from the front row. Okay, we've only had the 2 editions, but it's 100%, so you can't go against the facts. Verstappen won from 2nd on the grid in 2023, George Russell from pole last year. So if you're a stats person like I am, then you're going to believe whoever starts in the front row has a very good chance of winning this Grand Prix. But for Max Verstappen, he of course is also still in contention for the title, particularly after his sterling drive in Brazil from the pit lane to finish as runner-up in that race. So it's 3rd, I should say. Nearly got runner-up, didn't quite get ahead of Kimi Antonelli at the end of that race. But he can mathematically be eliminated from the championship this weekend in Las Vegas. If he loses 9 or more points to Lando Norris, he's done. His tilt for a 5th consecutive Drivers' Championship will be over with. So he needs to finish within 9 points of Lando. If he finishes 2nd and Lando wins, still within a mathematical chance. If he finishes 3rd and Lando wins, it's Dunsky. Good night. Thank you, Max, for trying for your championship. Oscar Piastri, though, doesn't have to worry about that. Even if he crashes out of this race and Lando wins, he's still mathematically still able. So Lando cannot win the championship this weekend in Las Vegas. But for Oscar Piastri, all the fingers and toes, of course, are crossed about it. He's no doubt getting sick of being asked about just what has caused this form slump of his. He's answered it on many different ways, saying that he is trying to overcome it as best as he can. But I think a lot has to be said about his recovery drive that he did have in Brazil to get up through the points into 5th place, still salvage something from that race, and we'll be hoping to do so, of course, this weekend. Now, while there's only ever been 2 Las Vegas Grand Prix, neither, of course, won by Oscar. An Australian has won under the lights, well, at least under the hot desert sky in Las Vegas before, back in 1981 when the Caesars Palace Grand Prix was a thing. There was only 2 of them ever held in 1981 and 1982, and we don't often like to talk about that race because it wasn't exactly a brilliant one. But Alan Jones did win one of those Grand Prix. He won the very first Caesars Palace Grand Prix back in 1981. So an Australian has won in Las Vegas before in a Formula One car. So that's something of note to go into this weekend. As I mentioned, the timing for this race is very good for us in this part of the world, for both Australia and New Zealand. And this, of course, is a very unique race in the fact that the Grand Prix itself is held on a Saturday night. So we actually have practice on a Thursday, then we have qualifying and practice on a Friday, followed by the race on a Saturday night Vegas time, which for us in Australia and, of course, our New Zealand counterparts means Friday, Saturday, Sunday daytime viewing. It's kind of almost like watching the Australian Grand Prix with that one as well. But lots on the line. Triple header begins. The real juicy end of Formula One 2025 is set to go right this weekend. Can McLaren do something? Can they pull something out of the bag and find some form in Vegas? And if so, who will that be? Will Oscar be able to get some points from his teammate? Will Max sweep on through, take advantage of perhaps McLaren having an off weekend to keep himself in contention? Or will we see Mercedes return to the front as they have a couple of times this year? Or will this finally be the Ferrari breakthrough weekend? Will the Ferrari fans finally celebrate something this weekend? We'll have to wait and see. And keep an eye out for a couple of cool liveries on the grid this weekend. Racing Bulls, Williams, and Sauber have all unveiled special liveries at the time of recording this video. Alpine have slightly tweaked theirs with a bit more pink on there, while Ferrari do have a special kit this weekend that their drivers will be wearing. More teams should expect to release a few extra things, as we always see in Vegas, at least after this video has been recorded, so keep an eye out for that. But if you haven't seen those liveries, particularly the Racing Bulls and Williams ones, head to our website. They are pretty spectacular, and I'm sure you'll want to keep an eye out on those. And you'll be keeping an eye out on everything from Las Vegas happening this weekend right here on Speed Cafe. We'll have updates for you, results, and all the news happening from Sin City as the Formula One season gets to its crescendo and the championship battle continues to heat up. Keep it peeled right here on Speed Cafe for everything and more.